I am Adam Richmond, your host with the Locks That Rocks. This is Surviving Rocklahoma, your official podcast of Rocklahoma. And I am joined by a little somebody that we saw on stage earlier from Ashes to Anew. What's up, buddy?
What's going on? How are you guys?
Oh, man, we are amazing. We're still reeling. It is hot out here, but
It's hot.
not as hot as it was over there on the stage watching From Ashes to New play.
It was
guys.
a nice little crowd. It was a packed little spot over there. You know, we were doing a thing. Flew in today. It's our first one in 2 weeks have we done? We got off tour, so this is just a fly-in show for us. So to see that big of a crowd over there earlier in the day, you know, it was fun. We put it out on the stage for sure. It was hot and it was sweaty. It was good. It was good.
Can you tell me a little bit about playing in different types of temperatures, heats, and elements? Because that's got to affect your performance.
For sure. I definitely did not drink enough water today. Probably indulged too much while I was home back in Dallas a little bit, hanging out with the friends and drinking a little too much alcohol. So I could definitely tell that this heat, this humidity had me trying to cramp up a little bit. But, yeah, I would say that anything inside with a nice air conditioning spot, it still gets hot. I get sweaty. I'm a sweaty person. When I'm on stage, you know, I'm drumming away. I'm doing all these things, so I'm sweaty regardless. But it's more bearable. But when you're out here in the heat and the sun and the humidity like this, it's like it's another level for sure. You got to almost prepare a little bit harder. And I just went into it super excited, and I was just like, yeah, I'm good on that. And then I was up there, and I was like, yeah, I should have prepared. I should have drank a little bit more water, Gatorade or something, but I just ignored it, and we had an absolute blast. It was such a great show.
Now, random side thought. Now, I can't even yawn and stretch at the same time without just cramping up all in my throat, and then I'm like, I can't move.
Yeah.
How do you fight through like cramps and like when your body stops like cooperating and you've still got a job to
I'll
do?
be honest, sometimes it is hard. So I stopped in between a couple songs. I tried to get some water, and I was like wiping my face off with a towel, and I went to start the next song. I think it was Going Into Panic, and I noticed that my whole forearm on this side was like extremely cramped up. I couldn't tell when I was playing because I'm still going through the motions, and you kind of just mind over matter. You just push through. You're focused on the crowd. You're focused on the energy.
Right.
So I'm not really focused on any of the pain. A lot of people say pain is an illusion, but it's almost true in a sense. When I'm not focused on it, I wasn't really paying attention to it. But the minute I started back up again is the minute I was like, oh, God, like this is happening. And I was like, ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. And I just sat back a little bit. I relaxed into the cymbals. I was still playing, but I wasn't playing as hard. I just kept my performance going, and I was able to ease back into it. And I was like, cool, found my ground again and just kept it going.
You know, you use a couple of terms that I just, to me, it doesn't fit into the description of a drummer, man. I mean, how do you relax while you're just going absolutely nuts and you're just...
That's a hard thing. You know what I mean? It's a hard thing to like wrap my head around, I guess, a little bit too. I guess breathing, right?
Yeah.
It's the breathing. It's the mental game.
Okay.
I'm still bashing my cymbals. I'm hitting these skins as hard as I can, you know, but within dynamic and to make it sound good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to perform. I'm going to perform with head banging. I wet my hairs, whipping my head around all, you know, being crazy, making dumb faces, you know, whatever. And but I'm still trying to keep my mind at ease and my heart rate down a little bit. Control my breathing and things like that. And it's just years of doing it and the practice. But it kind of goes back to my drumline days, and my drumline teacher's always keeping me, you know, like in check with that stuff. So I try to apply what I've learned over the years to do it and still know how to perform. I know, you know, if I'm gripping too hard and I'm playing in the cymbal really hard with my arm, I'm probably going to cramp. So I use a little bit more wrist when I have to lay back so I can still get the same intensity out of my drums or cymbals or any of that stuff. Danny over here snooping in. So I use the same sort of intensity while playing, but to where I can kind of shift it between my fingers, my wrist, my forearm, my shoulder. I have different movements in my arm that I can kind of go back and forth. So that way I'm not overloading one part too much.
Good Lord. I mean, just the description overloaded my brain, especially, I mean, cramping up and then still having the dexterity to roll it through your fingers and all of that stuff. Do you like is that like the fidget spinner for musicians is just a drumstick through the hand?
I'll sit there like the whole ride here, I'm just sitting there spinning sticks and tapping on things and, just doing all that. And
Yeah.
it is a nice warm up, you get your hands moving and things like that. It's kind of like dudes play video games or whatever, and they're always like on the keyboards and stuff, and they do the warm up games before the streamers really get into it. It's kind of like the same thing for me. And it's like a fidget spinner, but a cooler one.
I could have had a promising year, but my 5th grade teacher, Miss Anderson, told me to stop clicking the damn pen.
Of course.
Were you that kid growing up? You just like always got to say.
I was always trying to find a drum set in everything, but I would also know that people were around me, so I would start tapping a little bit, but I'd try to be quiet about it, and I was in my own head. But I'd be at the desk and doing all this stuff, and then I'd notice I'm getting really into it, and I'm like, all right, settle down, calm down. At home, I would pull the pots and pans out, and I'd be tapping on them and seeing what does what, and all that. And my parents immediately were like, yeah. My dad was always a drummer, so I grew up with a drum set in the house. Yeah. I was throwing the sheets and the pillows out of the crib apparently, and I was climbing over and falling on them just to get to the drum set. So they knew right away when I started pulling the pots and pans out at that age. They're like, we just need to get him his own drum set, because I was climbing all over my dad's, and he's particular about his stuff like I am. So he's like, yeah, let's get him his own. He can tap on those and destroy them all he wants, and then I'll have my nice things. So
when did you know, like, all right, this is what I'm doing?
My parents say that I started when I was 3, being able to really kind of do it. When I was a kid, like I said, I was climbing out of the crib and I was tapping on whatever. But I had sticks in my hand, and my dad would help me play the beat, and he would just, after a minute of keeping the basic beat going, he would let go, and then I would hold the beat down. I was too short to be able to touch the pedal, so he would do the pedal for me. And then at 5, I played my first song, if you would. I played a song in my dad's cover bands for a wedding reception. And I sat down on his lap, and everybody's in the room's like, oh, that's cool. He brought his son up, whatever. And then all of a sudden he does the typical thing that he does, where I was holding the beat down or whatever, and he sits back and he puts his hands up, and everybody's like, wait a second. And the whole room starts watching. And I get the standing ovation at the end of it, and I'm a kid, so I'm so overwhelmed. I'm like, I'm going to mess this up, and I get done, and everybody's like, you did great. And I'm just running through, and I'm crying because I'm like, this is too overwhelming for me. I'm overstimulated. So I ran off, and I went to my mom, and I was like, what did I do wrong? She's like, no, you did great. Everybody's happy for you. So it was my first show, and that's why I was like, I kind of like that. That was fun. When I realized I did good, I was like, oh, I like this. Yeah, let's do this.
So how long have you been chasing this?
Chasing this?
Yeah, just
I started
it.
all my life. I think that I took it more seriously when I got to be a teenager. I started really trying to put bands together about 13, 14 years old, but it was just with friends around my neighborhood and people that I knew. I didn't have an outsource or outreach or anything. 16 years old, back in the MySpace days. I'm kind of showing my little bit of my age right here. But the MySpace days is what really catapulted me. I met a lot of people, and I used that as my networking. I was just on that all the time, to the point where my parents get off the computer. And I was like, you don't understand. I'm doing something, just trust me here. I'm not just wasting my time, and I really just use that to network as much. Hey, I'm trying to put this together. Hey, I'll meet this manager, because back in the day, you can go to a band's page on the MySpace and see who their manager was, and it was a direct link right to his profile or her profile or whatever it was.
Right.
So I would go there and I'd add them as a friend. I'd start a conversation with them. So I was networking constantly and put myself out there. And my boy, shout out DJ Q, Quentin Delaney, he's driving for a bunch of bands now. He's been driving for Justin Bieber and SZA and all them. He's the lead driver for them. And he's the one that brought me actually out on my first tour ever in 2012. I would go out to a bunch of shows, and he said, you've been trying to put these bands together for so long. Everybody in your area might have talent, but what's a better way to get involved and get into the industry and be surrounded by people that are also doing what you're trying to do, and you have the talent, you have the capabilities and the connections. Come out, drum tech, and meet the people that you need and start from there. And I was like, you know what? I put my ego aside and be like, okay, well, I have nothing else. I'm not in the industry. At least this way it gets me in the door. So when I was a drum tech, and then from there, rest is history.
Awesome.
So,
how many... Did you go through several bands before you found, your current home, or was it one of those you just found magic from the start?
I had one band, serious band prior to this. I mean, in high school, I put together a small little like friendly thing that we did Battle of the Bands. I put together 3 like festival shows and things like that. Just like something small and fun my senior year with a couple other people, but I knew that they were moving away.
Right.
Some of them had some serious jobs. One was going to the Navy, you know, so it wasn't anything that was going to go further, but I wanted to use it as like a practice, you know, a stepping stool to kind of get into what I wanted to get into and use that as something. I got into teching, and then from there, I went back to one of the bands prior, and they let go of their drummer after Carolina Rebellion. I used to play for Trivium, and they let go of their drummer after Carolina Rebellion in Pittsburgh. When we were on the Volbeat tour, they brought me into the room, and I knew that what happened the night prior, and I was like, well, I didn't do anything wrong, but getting called into like the office kind of thing, I was like, half of me was like, is this happening?
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling, I saw it coming. I was with them for a while. Sure. In between, I was also working for As Lay Dying as their drum tech. And I went back to the Trivium guys. So I saw the dynamic that was shifting. And they pulled me into the room, and the tour manager's there, and the whole band is there. And I'm just like, what did I do? You know, like, what's going on? But then half of me is like, am I getting asked to potentially fill in right now? And they're like, how soon can you learn the songs? You know, we need you to play. And I was like, give me maybe a day. I'm familiar with the idea of the songs. It's a whole different animal. A lot of people will be like, listen, I could do that. Sure. But a band like Trivium is a band that doesn't use a computer, a track. They don't have a click track. They don't have anything. What you hear is what you get from them. So they're not even playing to a metronome. I don't know if it's changed now with their new drummer. Maybe he's playing to one and the rest of them have it, but they don't play to a click track or anything. So I had no cues in my ears. So everything was, I started it, I held the tempo, I did it. It's a whole nother animal. If you have an album, there's a lot of people with their ears, they'll have the click track, but they'll have an album kind of as a cheat sheet amongst their ears. Yeah. Not that it's coming out front, but I've heard a lot of people doing this to where they can have that and play along to it. And it's not the case with them. So it was a whole nother thing. So I played for them for a while. And then we parted ways at the end of 2015, started 2016. March of 2016, I filled in for the CD release tour From Ashes to New. And I could see the dynamic shifting in that as well. And I was like, I really like this. Matt and I got along really well. Lance and I got along really well. And I was like, listen, if something changes, y'all hit me up. Like, y'all let me know. I think that this is something that I truly can find home with. It was very much more me than anything else I've ever been involved with. And I was like, please, you know, hit me up if something changes. I got the call about September, October, around this time frame, and they were like, are you still looking to drum? And I was like, of course. For who? And they're like, for us.
Right.
So, yeah, we came through and, you know, started writing in 2017, got Danny in 2017, started touring in 2018, and haven't looked back since. So this is home. This is everything I've asked for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Whenever you took that job as a drop tech, did you look at that as like a baseball player? It's like, all right, I'm just waiting to get the call for the show, or were you like, oh, this is an amazing job?
Yeah.
Who knows where it could go?
I look at everything as a positive as much as I can, even in a negative situation, right? So I always set out to be a drummer. But if things weren't working out necessarily, it wasn't because of my capabilities or my performance. It was because I didn't have the right connections. So I knew that eventually doing something like that and showcasing who I am and how I am and my abilities was eventually going to cross over and somebody was going to see it. I wasn't trying to poach anybody's gig. I was never trying to step on toes. But I knew that eventually the right people would hear it, the right people would see it, and the connections that I would make would allow somebody to go, hey, look, I heard about this this person or this band or this artist needs somebody. Right. Are you willing to be able to do this? I never thought that I would get into a position to play for one of the bands that I was working for, because I knew that it was like they have their set stuff. Sure. So it was never anything like that, but I was just like, I'm going to use every connection that I make, and I'm going to show who I am and my abilities to hopefully one day do that. But at least I'm in the industry and I'm doing what I love to do. I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I don't do that. You know, that's not my thing. I can't do that. I could, but I will be miserable. This is home. This is what I like to do. I mean, my guys call me crazy. I literally leave tomorrow and I go out with the Shinedown guys on their headliner. So I'm flying out from this and out with them. I'm not playing, but I help them out on tour. So we're off until November area. You know, we're trying to book something. So low key, dropping some hints. Be ready. And we're going to schedule something. So we're off for a while. And I just try to fill my time. Zach's one of my best friends. Barry's a close friend of mine as well. I love all the guys. Brent's amazing. Eric's amazing. One of my favorite bands to ever exist. And the fact that I get the privilege to go out with them is like, of course I'm going to take that. I put my pride aside, my ego aside. I'm going out and I'm helping them out. But it's like, it inspires me. I get to learn from them, one of the greatest to do it. Why not? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm all about it. So I'll go back to my roots as much as I'll stay here and play. But yeah, I love it.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
And that goes to show you folks, be an asset, not an ass, and always be at the right place at the right time.
Absolutely. Anything can happen. Take what you can, and make the most of it.
Amen. And every challenge is an experience. I mean, there's no bad experience. You just learn what mistakes not to make again. So
through anything that happens in life, you're always going to learn something from it. So it can always be a positive.
Yeah.
You're going to trip and fall, but you're going to learn next time how to not trip and fall from that same thing that you did.
Sure.
But to keep going is going to help prove to yourself and others around you that setback or that minor inconvenience isn't going to hold me down. I'm going to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
I could have. After I got released from my last band, I could have been like, I don't know if I have anything else. Because I built my entire career with them. And I stressed, and I was like, what am I going to do? But I said, you know what, that's not going to be the end of me, because that wasn't who I really was.
Right.
That was the start of my career. That's what put me on the map. Now I have something to prove, not only to everybody else, but to myself. And I'm proving it.
I love it. So you've far more than proved anything needed to be
but
proved.
we still
if
got
there
growth,
was anything.
We want to headline this,
I'm waiting. So tell me a little bit about playing with Ashes to New and this ride that you're on.
Yeah, I mean, we dropped our album July 28th. We've been holding on to it for a little while. We released one during the pandemic, and then we started writing this one at the end of the pandemic, and we've had this done pretty much since the end of July, about July, mixed in September of 2021. And we've been dying to get this out. And to put this out on a tour within this moment, Emotionless and White, some great bands, after coming off of the Shinedown 3 Days Grace tour, just setting us up for success has been amazing. The responses that we've seen across the seas, where we haven't even gotten to fully break into yet, have been incredible. The charting that we've done over there and everywhere else and here as well has been insane to us. We could see the head turns kind of, wait a second, we hear the buzz going on. We see the socials starting to progress and everything else that's happening, and it's so sick. And we are so grateful, and so privileged to be able to do it, because we've been grinding to make something happen even more and more, and that's what everybody sets out to do, is just to keep progressing and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're watching it happen, and it's so cool to kind of see it happening as it's happening and be like, damn, this is really going on. Like today, that place was packed out over there, and it was a side stage thing. We're not promoting a tour right now. This is a fly-in show, and to see that, it's showing what's going on right now, the buzz that's happening for us. Seeing things charting on Sirius, shout out, because they really, Sirius XM and Octane, they've started this band's career. They have been a huge part of who we are and what we are. And all the FM channels and the radio stations, thank you. Everybody who supports us. You guys are the reason why we get to do this. You guys are the reasons why we're out here. But seeing it happening and being up on stage and watching the growth, it's unreal. It's so sick.
So what's next for Ashes to New?
We are trying to book a fun little thing at the end of this year. I won't say exactly when. I kind of hinted time frame. We're trying to book something for the end of the year. We're off right now. I'm not. I like to stay busy as possible, but the band is going to be off for a little bit. We got some really cool things that we're planning right now, and we're going to try to start, pushing the record, pushing the new stuff. Next year, we're looking to do some big things. We have already announced that we're doing Shiprocked finally. Third time's the charm, so we get to finally do it. I know the first year was some complications with the original singer leaving last minute last year with all the COVID stuff and everything else. So we are very stoked to finally get on that. So that's the start of our year, at least as of now. But I believe we're going to start it off with that. And, just trying to make next year really big and have something fun towards the end of the year. So keep your eyes peeled.
Wow, you guys are so absolutely busy, and I love that
Yeah.
you are not afraid to get that grind, that hustle,
Oh,
and
no.
work that.
We all came from nothing. I grew
Right.
up in a trailer park in a trailer, and Danny was hovered around kerosene heaters, and Matt came from small spots, basically living in the hallways, and that's how my parents grew up, and everybody else's parents grew up. And Lance, same thing. And we have all just been prone to knowing how to get something done and chasing after we want and not taking no for an answer. If anything, that we want to be a catalyst to show you that, like, don't take no for an answer if you really believe that you're able to do something within yourself, for all positive things. Don't take this and try to flip it and do something negative with that. That's not what I'm saying. But really, if you have a dream, believe in yourself and grind for it. And that's what we do. And if anything, we want to just be a vision of that, that we grew up with nothing and we are going to make something of ourselves one way or another. And you guys can too.
I love that message, guys. And just the mindset is something that I feel music needs. My friends say music is medicine, and it's absolutely true. There's so many that use, and folks such as yourself, the drummers who are the pulse.
Yeah.
And we appreciate everything you guys do. I appreciate you sitting down with me. I like to give all of my guests an opportunity before we wrap things up to directly address your crowd, your fans, the people who watched you play today. The stage is yours.
To everybody who supports From Ashes to New, to everybody who doubts From Ashes to New, thank you. Because the ones who support us, we love you, we cherish you. You are the reason why we're able to do this. To ones who doubt us, you are the reason why we will keep pushing ourselves. Because whatever you say to us that's negative, we'll find a way to blow it right back into your face. So everybody who's there, everybody who's spreading the name, everything, we love you. Thank you for everything that you guys do for us. Thank you to all these festivals that put us on, to all the promoters that book us, to every radio station, to SiriusXM and Octane, and everybody who plays us and spins us. Thank you to everybody who buys anything from us and supports us at the merch table, supports our shows. We love and appreciate you. We could not do this without you, and it never goes unnoticed. It never goes unforgotten. You guys are the life of us, and we can't thank you guys enough. Check out the new record, Blackout, just came out. We're going to be promoting that thing soon, and we're going to be touring a lot. So we expect to see you guys soon.
Love it, man. I appreciate it. And this has been Surviving Rocklahoma, your official podcast of Rocklahoma. I'm your host with the Locks That Rocks, Adam Richmond. Until next time, rock on.